I agree with you. It is important to have that the environmental education as part of the curriculum. But hi, we are going to have a small chat. I'm with my friend Maggie. She's an environmentalist, and we are going to discuss on nurturing kids on environmental conservation. What is the essence of nurturing children on environmental conservation when our children are at home, when our kids are just they're having a free time? So what is the significance of environmental conservation and nurturing children? What is the role of these children in conserving the environment? It's about their future, it's about the future generations, and they have a role to play. And what is the role of schools? What is the role of parents? What is the role of you as the viewer when it comes to nurturing these children? What are you doing to impart knowledge on these children? So Maggie, what is your opinion when it comes to nurturing kids on environmental conservation? Why should we nurture these children on environmental conservation?
Well, thank you, Carol. I'm so much humbled to be here to discuss this topic about environment and kids. I believe it's one of the key good approaches that we can use to ensure that our environment is safe in the future. And just straight to your question, I want to first say that kids are our future, just as you have said. Kids are the future. And when we talk of environmental conservation, the main aim is ensuring that there is sustainability of environmental resources. So you find that there is connection between environmental conservation and the future. And therefore it's very, very important as parents, as government, and even as concerned public and private sector to instill the knowledge that is needed in our kids, to develop positive attitudes in our kids towards nature.
Okay, in your opinion, do you think we're already doing something to nurture these kids? Because I think based on my experiences with working with children, both in schools and out of school, it's like we have not done enough to nurture these children. So in your opinion, what do you think we're already doing good, and maybe what have we not done, or what do you think? What's your perception?
I think we have tried, though we have not done enough, as you say, because we still find parents who are not responsible, who are not teaching their children about the environment. We are not doing enough to ensure that environmental conservation is instilled in our children. Why am I saying this? Like as for the government, we have the policies, we have very good policies, we have very good laws, but then the problem comes in when it comes to implementation. But I just give an example. You find in most of the websites, in the parastatals, they have a page on education, environmental education on children. But then I keep asking myself, do these kids have an opportunity to visit these websites and read that information? Yeah, so you find that we have the gadgets, we have the tools, but then implementing them on the ground is another thing.
So what do you think these organizations should do? Or maybe the government, like you talked of parastatals having environmental education as part of their listed information in their websites. But then now what can they do now that they are not giving a chance to these kids?
Caro, I believe that the only way that they can make this information available to the kids is by sensitization. I'm not saying that they don't do sensitization, but you find that they do like once in a while, like for example during the World Environment Day, but they need to be more consistent. They need to include them in their daily timetables. That, you know, this month we are going here, we are sensitizing children and particularly our youths about environment. So I think the thing that is lacking here is the consistency. You know, we just raise because the Environment Day is in the corner, we just go and ask the schools for children to prepare scripts and all that, and then after that it's done. We need to be consistent. We need to be consistent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's move from organizations, parastatals, to maybe schools. what can schools do, or what are they doing? Because I think they play a major role in bringing up these children, because the children are in school maybe 3 months, so that's a long time. The children are just with the parents for a short time, but then they are with the teachers. So what do you think the schools should be doing, or what are they doing? What is their role in ensuring that they improve the understanding of the children in environmental conservation?
Okay, thank you, Carol. On this, I want to say that true, school play a very key role in instilling knowledge, even from the tender age, you know, that's PP1 child. So I believe, like, I know the government has done a lot. Like now we have the new curriculum that has included environmental studies in, as part of the subject. And that's a thumbs up for our government. But then on the side of the teachers, they need to include practicals in this. I'm looking forward to see an instant whereby children are competing in terms of who knows how to conserve the environment. Children are competing in terms of who has planted many trees on the school. So I think that in as much as the schools are training the children, they need to include the practical bit a lot. Because as you know, children learn much from observation. So when you come and tell a child, you know, you need to plant trees, and they don't see it happening in the school, then it will not make much change. So, but when you include that in the school calendar, that we have this day, like we have like one day in a month that we should be planting trees, then that one will make change, because the children will have an opportunity to have the practical bit of it.
Okay, so you talked about including practicals.
Yes.
So I want to believe you'll also agree with me that having environmental clubs or tourism, wildlife clubs is very important, because I think that is the first place where it brings children who are really interested in environmental conservation together, and of course it will encourage the others to join the club. So what is your say in that?
Okay, environmental clubs are very essential in a school, but again, you raise some kids being environment conscious while others will be left behind. But the thing is, we need every child to know why we are conserving the environment. We need every child to know how we can conserve the environment. We need them to know when they can conserve the environment. And that's why I'm saying being it in the school calendar makes every child to be involved. Yes,
I agree with you. It is important to have that the environmental education as part of the curriculum, but I also still believe it is essential to have the clubs, because when I was growing up, I'm sure even you, when you're growing up, you were part of these clubs. We had music clubs, science clubs. We didn't have environmental clubs. We had wildlife clubs, and it was not like we were not doing science. Science was compulsory, but it was somehow strategic. It's like being part of this club makes you, you know, it was a sense of belonging and sense of responsibility. So I still believe these clubs are very essential, despite the fact that we need to have the environmental education as part of the curriculum.
Thank you, Carol. It's true. I'm not saying that we do away with the environmental clubs, but what I'm saying is that we need to take this to another level. Let's make our children understand that keeping environment safe or conserving environment is a responsibility for every one of us. Yeah. Okay,
now let's shift gears from schools. Let's go to parents.
Yes.
These are our role models. You know, what our parents do, we will eventually want to do what they do. Because okay, let's look at a situation in the rural areas. In places where parents are involved in charcoal burning, you'll find that even the kids are doing the same thing.
Sure.
In places where the parents don't care about proper waste disposal, the children will eventually be part of that kind of a cycle. Okay, in few instances the children will be, I mean, they will do their thing in a good way.
As parents, we have a key role to play even in instilling knowledge to our children. And just in that, I want to quote a very famous quote. I think it's a Bible verse that says that you train up a child on the way he should do, and when he grows up, it will not depart from them. And therefore, I believe...
Okay, can you tell us which verse or where that verse is found?
I think it's Proverbs 22:6, if I'm not wrong. I'm not so sure, but I think it's somewhere there.
Please confirm that. Proverbs 22:6. Yes.
From the tender age, train a child in a way that even before they join school, train them in a way that they will, you know, they will develop a positive attitude towards environment. And when they grow up, it will not depart from them. And I think this is where we miss the point. This is where we miss the point. We miss the point here. You know, you find some parents are training their children and others are not training their children. Okay, we are not to blame because I understand some are illiterate.
Yes.
But then, at this point, I think everyone knows why it's essential to conserve our environment.
Yes.
And therefore, for parents, let's try and teach our children how to conserve the environment.